What if the most powerful person in the world gave their pet more authority than you will ever have in your entire life? Imagine living in a society where a horse, yes, an actual four-legged animal, had more political power, wealth, and respect than senators, generals, and governors combined. This isn't fantasy. This is ancient Rome under Emperor Caligula, and the story you're about to hear is so bizarre that historians still debate whether it was madness, genius, or the ultimate insult to Roman politics. Picture this: Rome, 37 AD, the most powerful empire on Earth, legions controlling 3 continents, senators wearing purple togas, debating laws that govern millions. And in the middle of the Roman Forum stands a marble palace, not for a general, not for a senator, but for a horse named Incitatus. A horse with servants, a horse with a marble stable, a horse that dined on gold-plated oats and wore a jeweled collar worth more than most Roman citizens would earn in 10 lifetimes. But Caligula didn't stop there. He allegedly planned to make Incitatus an official Consul of Rome, one of the 2 highest political positions in the entire empire, second only to the emperor himself. Let that sink in. A horse, making laws, commanding armies, representing the Roman people. How did Rome, the civilization that gave us engineering marvels, legal systems still used today, and military tactics studied for millennia, end up almost governed by livestock? Let's rewind. Caligula became emperor at just 24 years old. His real name was Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, but soldiers nicknamed him Caligula, meaning little boots, because he wore miniature military sandals as a child growing up in army camps. Romans loved him at first. After the paranoid reign of Tiberius, Caligula seemed like fresh hope. Young, charismatic, connected to the legendary Julius Caesar bloodline. The people celebrated. The Senate breathed relief. Then everything changed. Just 7 months into his reign, Caligula fell seriously ill. Some historians believe it was encephalitis, a brain inflammation that can cause permanent personality changes. Others think it was poisoning. When he recovered, he wasn't the same person. The charming young emperor had become something else entirely. Unpredictable, paranoid, and obsessed with demonstrating absolute power in the most theatrical ways possible. Enter Incitatus. This wasn't just any horse. Incitatus was Caligula's prized racehorse, a champion of the Circus Maximus, where 250,000 Romans gathered to watch chariot races. In Roman culture, successful racehorses were celebrities, the sports cars of the ancient world. But Caligula's devotion went far beyond fandom. According to ancient historians Suetonius and Cassius Dio, Caligula had a stable built for Incitatus made entirely of marble. The horse slept on purple blankets, the color reserved for emperors and the highest nobility. His collar was embedded with precious gems. Servants attended to his every need. Caligula threw elaborate dinner parties where Incitatus was the guest of honor, dining on gilded oats from an ivory manger, while senators watched in stunned silence. But here's where it gets truly insane. Caligula allegedly invited Incitatus to banquets with Rome's elite. While senators discussed military campaigns and economic policy, a horse stood among them, literally eating from golden dishes. Imagine being a Roman senator. You've spent decades climbing political ranks, commanding legions, governing provinces, and you're now sharing dinner space with a horse that outranks you in imperial favor. The madness escalated. Ancient sources claim Caligula planned to appoint Incitatus as consul. Now, some modern historians argue this was never meant seriously, that Caligula was mocking the Senate, showing them they were so useless he might as well replace them with animals. Others believe he was genuinely unhinged enough to go through with it. Either way, the threat was clear. In Caligula's Rome, traditional power structures meant nothing. Loyalty to the emperor meant everything, and he could elevate anyone or anything above you. Think about the psychological warfare here. Caligula wasn't just being eccentric. He was systematically humiliating the Senate, the institution that had held power for 500 years before emperors existed. Every time a senator saw Incitatus draped in imperial purple, eating from golden plates, living in luxury most Romans could never imagine, the message was unmistakable. You are beneath my horse. Your titles, your family names, your military victories, I can erase all of it with a whim. This wasn't random cruelty. It was calculated intimidation. Caligula had watched his family destroyed by political rivals. His father, Germanicus, a beloved general, was likely poisoned. His mother and brothers were murdered in political purges. Caligula grew up knowing that senators smiled to your face while plotting your death. So when he gained absolute power, he made sure they understood their irrelevance. The horse became a symbol. Incitatus represented everything wrong with Caligula's reign: the excess, the mockery of tradition, the complete disconnect from reality. But it also represented something Romans feared more: the realization that their republic was truly dead. For centuries, Rome had been governed by elected officials, checks and balances, shared power. Now, one man could ignore all of it, and they were powerless to stop him. Ancient sources describe senators forced to bow to Incitatus, military commanders who conquered foreign territories receiving less honor than a horse, priests required to swear oaths in the horse's name. Whether these accounts are exaggerated or completely accurate, they reveal how Romans perceived Caligula's reign as a nightmare inversion of everything their civilization stood for. But here's the twist modern historians emphasize: we might be believing propaganda. Almost everything we know about Caligula comes from writers who hated him: senators, aristocrats, people whose power he threatened. Suetonius wrote decades after Caligula's death, collecting scandalous stories. Cassius Dio wrote 150 years later. Neither were eyewitnesses. They were repeating rumors, legends, and politically motivated character assassinations. Some scholars now argue Caligula was actually reforming Rome, redistributing wealth, reducing Senate power, connecting directly with common people. The horse story might have been an exaggerated joke, a one-time theatrical gesture blown into legend by enemies who wanted him remembered as insane. After all, no archaeological evidence of Incitatus's consulship exists. No official documents, no coins. Just stories written by people who benefited from destroying his reputation. Still, even if the consulship was never official, the fact remains: Caligula elevated a horse above human beings in status, wealth, and imperial favor. Whether it was madness, satire, or political strategy, the message was revolutionary and terrifying. In the new Rome, human hierarchies meant nothing. The emperor's will was everything. Caligula's reign lasted just 4 years. In 41 AD, members of the Praetorian Guard assassinated him in an underground passage. He was 28 years old. The Senate immediately ordered his name erased from public monuments, a practice called damnatio memoriae, condemning his memory. But they couldn't erase the stories. Incitatus became immortal, a symbol of imperial madness that echoes through 2,000 years of history. So here's the question nobody can definitively answer. Was Caligula genuinely insane? Or was he the most misunderstood political genius in Roman history? Was promoting his horse an act of delusion, or the most savage political commentary ever made, showing that the Roman Senate had become so corrupt and useless that a horse could do their job just as well? Think about it. In how many societies today do we see leaders mocking institutions, elevating loyalists regardless of qualifications, making theatrical gestures that seem insane but send unmistakable political messages? Caligula's horse isn't just ancient history. It's a warning about what happens when power becomes untethered from accountability, when theatricality replaces competence, when leaders care more about dominance than governance. 2,000 years later, we're still talking about Incitatus, still debating what Caligula really meant, still wondering if we're witnessing madness or method. And maybe that's exactly what he wanted: to be unforgettable, to force every generation to ask themselves, could this happen in our society? Or could we be the Romans watching a horse outrank us, powerless to stop it? What do you think? Madness, genius, or something more disturbing? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you want more stories about the most insane moments in history that actually happened, subscribe. Because trust me, this is just the beginning.